This week, McKinsey's new global head apologized to South Africans for work the firm did with friends of former President Jacob Zuma. The ill-fated deal tarnished the reputation of the world's biggest consultancy. Last week, power utility Eskom said it had finalized a settlement agreement with McKinsey to pay back 1 billion rand, which was unlawfully paid out to the consultancy. Is it too little, too late to address reputational damage and commercial loss? Well, to analyze this McKinsey story, we are joined in the studio by creative strategist and businesswoman Sizakele Marutlulle. Thank you very much for coming to our studio.
Thank you for having us.
Well, let's talk about this apology first. Is it too little, too late after all this damage?
It took 34 months, so it is a bit too little, too late. But what is important here is that the McKinsey as an iconic brand took too long to address the issues that were at the core of the challenge. Because as an iconic brand, what you really want to do very quickly is acknowledge the ways in which you have done wrong. Because let's be clear, this is also a cautionary tale to all those business leaders who think the brand sits apart from the business. The brand is the business. So if you don't address issues that negatively impact the brand, the consequence is that it's going to impact the business.
For a big business like that, let's analyze the line of command. Everything starts at board level, which comes with all kinds of strategies, including communication strategy, and then it comes to management and the communication unit as well. So there's a message that was supposed to come from board level that something is wrong here. Shouldn't have management addressed this issue when somebody could have raised a flag at boardroom level to say there could be an audit query, these transactions are very suspicious?
But here's what happens, Colin. Organizations revolve around values, right? And values are the ways in which we manage our own behavior. And I'm reticent to suggest, but I guess the evidence also may support one who claims that perhaps the work hasn't been done in terms of just defining what the purpose of McKinsey as a brand and as a business is. Because if a purpose is at the center of how we work, and it defines more than just what we do, but why we exist and who we are here to serve, there would have been somebody along the line who would have correctly and courageously said, this is not how we behave. So to have a global leader today or on Monday say, we've let ourselves down, it means that the understanding of the values doesn't really permeate to every aspect of that business. But
can it really permeate when some deals could have been negotiated at some gala dinner or golf course?
It should, and it can, because McKinsey is not the only business that has multinational tentacles. What is required here is a quiet moment of reflection on anyone's part, including those who should have said no, but chose to say yes at the time, and understand what behaviors are rewarded in that environment, because change is necessary. And
what happens to somebody who says no and is a senior executive amongst 7 other senior operatives?
Well, if you're brave and you're a human being with integrity, which is what people are demanding from brands today, we're demanding brands that are authentic. If you're an authentic individual in that environment, you would leave if that wasn't aligned with your values.
What does it say then about rubbing shoulders with the big guns and political connections?
It says that the choices you make are the choices that people are going to use to judge you. Because in corporate culture today, but also just in popular culture, consumers and human beings like you and I are no longer looking for businesses to tell us what they do. We are assessing the choices they are making when they think nobody is watching. Because you can't afford to bridge a moral contract that you have with society, because what the outcome of that is brand hate. And if you're McKinsey, you can't afford to be dealing with that right now.
But can't we just learn from the past? This is not the first scandal. We've had international scandals like Enron,
yeah.
And there's this one which is dovetailing it, the KPMG one.
Here's what happens. At some level, people develop this level of hubris that says we're too big to fail, because that's how we got to Enron, right? So then, because you don't have enough people in your universe to tell you no, you start to believe that you're beyond reproach. If somebody were to say to me, what are the 3 things that they could have done differently? The first one was run ahead of the apology, right? So don't just say you're sorry, but show us what you're going to do and be committed and offer demonstrable measures of remorse, so that we can evaluate you on an everyday basis and decide whether you're the person with whom we want to be spending our money.
So what can corporate South Africa learn out of this going forward?
One is that there's no room to hide. You're no longer just selling to customers, you're serving human beings. That's the first one. Secondly, that citizens have a growing intolerance for businesses that behave immorally, and therefore we hold them to account when they fall short of that. Three, if your business is not anchored on a purpose, then it's very difficult for you to hold even the most junior or the most senior person in your business to account. So define a purpose, be clear about your values, and hold everyone to account. And when you get it wrong, be the first one to say, mea culpa.
Right. Thank you very much for making time to speak to us.
Thank you for having us.
All right. That's creative strategist. That's Sizakele Marutlulle speaking to us about the corporate scandals in South Africa. Moving